Hey, what's going on YouTube? Thanks for checking out today's video. Today's going to be just a recap of my very first national, kind of, as a newbie going to the national. I want to just share a couple of thoughts, a couple of mistakes I made, a couple of things I maybe regret, maybe not bringing home, and then just a couple of things just to be mindful of in case you are thinking about going to your first national next year or in coming years. So we're going to save that for the second part of the video. We're going to start off today's video though. I would just want to be kind of brief, but I want to just give you a recap of the cards that I picked up at this year's national. I'm going to start from my first pickup through my last pickup. I do also have one baseball Hall of Fame rookie card to share with you guys. It wasn't a national pickup, but I got it the day before the national. It was a golden pickup and I haven't shared it with you guys. So we'll go ahead and just add that to this overall kind of show and tell for the national. So let's start here. This was my very first pickup of the show, 1970 Topps Pistol Pete rookie card, PSA 4. This is such a cool card. Let me share this with you guys just because the condition of this card's so good for a PSA 4. And there's a couple of folks. There is a crack on the slab, by the way, but there's a couple of folks that seen this card at the national. For those that swung by or stopped me at the national and took a moment to say hi and we got a chat. Appreciate you guys first and foremost. Appreciate you guys doing that. It was really, really awesome meeting everybody. And then I know that there was a couple of people who've seen this card during the YouTuber social hour over at the NBC Suites that night. And I think generally the consensus with this card from everybody is this is just a really good looking four. So, and I can agree more. This was a card I was exceptionally happy to pick up, right in that $300, $350 price point, which is pretty competitive based upon current comps. Next card that I picked up is this Paul Arizin 1957 Topps rookie card. If you watched one of my earlier videos where I kind of talked about cards that I wanted to target at the national, 1957 Topps basketball cards were on that list. Paul Arizin fits in the 75th anniversary team Hall of Fame rookie card collection that I'm working on. That's been a collection I've spent a lot of time on this year. Of course, the Pistol Pete fits in that same collection. And so these were just holes in that collection. The thing about the 57 Topps, if you go look at the pop reports, these are not crazy rare cards, but they're not the easiest cards to find. And, if you actually pay attention to at least eBay sales, a lot of these cards still are ungraded. Centering on these cards are always difficult. The snowing effect in the background where the black is, which pretty much all these cards or a lot of these cards have that black background. So the snowing effect is generally pretty bad. So to find them in collector grade is kind of tough. And then when I think about where I live in Denver and kind of the Intermountain West, we just don't have a lot of these cards in this general region of the US. So when I can pick them up in this collector grade and kind of fill these holes in my collection, that's why I wanted to target some of these cards. So I did pick up a card. I purchased it at the national that is not currently with me. And the story to that is I was asking about these 57 Topps and there was a dealer that had some vintage basketball. And when I asked him if he had some 57 Topps, he said he had a Dolph Shays, who is also a 75th anniversary team member and Hall of Famer. He said he had it in a PSA 4 and it was back at his shop. And if I was interested, he could send me some photos. So about 20, 30 minutes after that conversation, he sent me the photos, walked back over, we came to terms. The Arizin I paid about 70 bucks for. The Dolph I ended up paying, I think, closer to $85 for. The Dolph I wanted to be more in that $80 price point. We kind of settled on 85. He's like, hey, look, I got the $5 that I need to ship it with. So he was pretty stuck on 85. I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. Don't have the card yet, so I haven't seen it in person. The photos are really good. I will share that card with you guys in a future video, but yeah, so that was technically a national pickup on Thursday. I just don't have the card to necessarily share with you guys. The last card, and you're going to see the theme here for the national, which I want to talk about that here in just a moment, but last national pickup is another basketball card. 1972 Topps Dr. J rookie card, PSA 5. Really happy about this card. Picked this one up on Saturday. I went back to my show events. I went Wednesday for the half-day event. I actually got in earlier, kind of started putzing around the floor around 2:30 local time until 6:30 or 8 o'clock. I forget exactly when they kicked us out. Whenever the showroom floor closed, they kind of did a 30-minute call out, and I kind of left about 30 minutes early. And then Thursday I was there the entire day, plus I did the YouTube social, which I do want to just briefly talk about here in a moment. Skipped Friday. My wife was in town, so the two of us did just fun Chicago stuff and some great food and dinners and entertainment downtown, which is where we ended up staying. And then Saturday I went back for a couple of hours before I flew out of O'Hare. For folks that aren't familiar, the conference center is like 5 minutes from O'Hare. It's one train stop away from O'Hare. And so long story short, I went for a couple hours on Saturday. And going into the show on Saturday, I had 2 cards on my brain, really 3 cards on my brain to think about picking up. There was a Jackie Robinson 1954 CSG 3.5 that a dealer had, and he still had it. And he had a price point, I think, of about $350, which compared to PSA comps and SGC comps, it's fairly competitive. It did have a flaked up corner on the front of the card, which I didn't love. So the overall presentation was probably the reason why I didn't pull the trigger on, but I'll be honest, I am genuinely regretful that I didn't pick up the card. The other cards that I were thinking about was this Dr. J, and there was actually 2 sellers that had very comparable Dr. J's, this PSA 5 and a very similar SGC 5. And then there were a couple of Lou Alcindor's, better known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rookie cards, the 1969-70 rookie cards, that I had on my brain as well. And I went in with the intention of buying potentially 2 of those cards. And unfortunately, while there were quite a few Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rookie cards on the floor at kind of various price points and various grades, the 2 that I kind of had targeted had both sold. The 2 Dr. J's hadn't, and I had already kind of worked out, not a deal with the SGC 5, but I'd already kind of understood what the dealer's lowball number was going to be. He was at least he came across as very honest that it wasn't his card. The guy that he was doing kind of a consignment situation where the guy wanted $500 for it. He wanted $20 for his time and effort. So he was looking for $520. This card was marked at a higher price than the SGC 5. I'd actually talked to the dealer on Wednesday. He gave me a number. Talked to him again on Thursday. He gave me a slightly lower number by about $25. I decided to go kind of shoot a shot on this card. Offered a number that I was comfortable paying, that I figured wasn't going to be insulting. But, I have a belief of, try and get the best price that you can for each and every card. And ultimately he said yes. So I brought this card home. I'm very happy about it. So I ended up filling 4 holes in my 75th anniversary NBA rookie card collection or registry. And I'm really happy about that. The last card I want to share with you guys in today's video is this card, which I didn't pick up at the show. And it kind of fits obviously a different collection that I'm working on, which is my post-war Hall of Famer collection. This is a Phil Niekro rookie card, 1964 Topps in the PSA 4. This is a card I think I got from Golden, and sure, I'm almost confident, or really confident it's Golden. I didn't look at that, but I'm pretty sure this wasn't an eBay buy. But the card got delivered the day before I left for Chicago. And I haven't had a chance to really share this card with you guys, but I think I've mentioned this in a prior video, in the post-war Hall of Fame collection. I kind of started backwards from the 1980s backwards, and I recently picked up the last 1970s Hall of Fame rookie card for that collection that I needed. And so I've slowly been adding now to the 1960s, and this is the most recent pickup of that specific collection. So I'm about halfway done, I think, with the 1960s rookies. I'm at least getting really close to about that halfway point. Since this card's on the screen, I want to talk about kind of the show and some thoughts about the show. these types of cards, these like 1960s mid-tier Hall of Fame rookie cards in kind of mid-tier grades, I didn't see a ton of these on the show floor. Now, I'm not saying they weren't there, because I've seen them in ungraded, versions, and I've seen them in high grade versions, kind of these mid-tier grade versions, the $40, $50, $60, upwards of maybe even $100 cards. Some of that just wasn't at the show, and if it was, I completely missed it. Now, a lot of my focus was 1959 and older, and I shared that in a prior video about cards that I was going to be targeting. Obviously, on the basketball side, I picked up a couple of 1959 cards, so I kind of checked some boxes there. And I'm pretty sure other folks have already mentioned this. There's plenty of Mickeys on the floor. There's plenty of Willies and Hank Aaron's and Colfax and Clementes. You're going to see all of that from all eras, from every year, all grades, from super high grades all the way down to PSA SGC 1s and Authentics. Those are cards you expect to see on the floor. Every dealer, vintage dealer, seems to have them. You don't see a lot of these types of cards. Additionally, another thought that I would share with you guys as a vintage collector, and if you're watching my channel, you're probably interested in vintage. That's why you're watching. Vintage baseball when we look at it from a ratio perspective, there was kind of a 5-to-1, 3-to-1, 5-to-1, baseball to football, baseball to basketball. And that makes sense to a certain degree, specifically on the basketball, because vintage basketball, you've got the 48 Bowmans, you got the 57 Tops, you got the 1961 Fleers, you got all these gaps in between. So there's not a huge lineage of kind of pre-1969 basketball cards. So to me, that makes sense. And, of course, that's some of the stuff that's a little bit more difficult for me to find here in the Intermountain West. That's kind of why I targeted some of it this year. But from just an overall perspective, kind of a ratio of 5-to-1, you've seen basketball to football and basketball to baseball. I did see a lot of Johnny Unitas rookie cards and Bart Starr rookie cards, so those were out there. I've seen quite a few Namath rookie cards. I didn't see a lot of the 1948s, so like the Norm Van Brocklins, and actually he's like a 50-51 rookie. The Sammy Baws and the Sid Luckmans. I didn't see a lot of that sort of stuff in the football range. I did see quite a few of those on the baseball sides, the Bob Fellers, the Yogi Berras. One of my target cards this year was going to be the Stan Musial, which I think I've seen 6 or 7 copies of. An authentic, one really high grade, I think it was a 7 or an 8, which was above my price point. I did see a 4, a 1.5, and a 3. I seen 2 4s, and both of those 4s were selling. One was asked at $2,000, which was above what I wanted to pay for it. One was at $1,500, and I tried negotiating on that card. Unfortunately, the seller wouldn't budge below about $1,425. And then the 3, the seller was asking. He had it listed at 7. He had it listed at 800. And he wouldn't come lower than $725. I made a fairly aggressive offer at 600, and he basically shot it down and said, no, thank you. And so ultimately, while some of the 48s were around, there were lots of Leaf, 49 Leafs, and then a bunch of pre-war type stuff, a lot of DiMaggios and Ted Williams and Babe Ruth cards. Seen plenty of that. It was really cool to see that museum aspect. A lot of people talk about. It's really cool to see some of the stuff that's brought to these shows, even if it's above your price point. It's just really cool to kind of see it in person and kind of experience some of those cards that normally we only see online or on videos. But ultimately, those were the show had a ton of vintage. I read a comment, I think somebody saying, where's all the vintage at? Dude, I seen a ton of vintage. As a vintage collector, I was really happy. I looked through, met a few of you guys and seen what you guys picked up. And, there was a mixture of kind of some lower and raw vintage and some really cool stuff. Jim Cots, and one of you guys picked up a 1959 Eddie Matthews that was really clean for SGC4. So I seen some really cool cards that you guys have picked up. But vintage was there was plenty of vintage at the show, and I was really excited to see that. I would share with you guys, I ended up staying downtown, as I may have mentioned already, but that was probably a bit of a mistake. Obviously, me and my wife were spending some time doing adult stuff and experiencing the city, which we'd been to Chicago a bunch, and we love the city of Chicago. But if I could redo it, I would have done a couple of days, the first couple of days, right adjacent or across the street from the actual conference center. The reason being there is, as it's been mentioned in prior videos and by other folks, the heat was killer. Inside on Thursday, midday, it was just a sauna inside. They did try and combat that at least by Saturday. There were some fans blowing, and I'm not sure if that was the conference center or who brought some of those fans in, but maybe it wasn't quite as hot on Saturday, and plus it wasn't as hot outside on Saturday. But not being able to get off of the floor and kind of rest the knees and the ankles, that was a bit of a bummer and probably a bit of a mistake, not staying for at least a couple of days nearby. I had about a 40-minute commute to and from, and so you had to kind of be mindful of the fact that you're going to be traveling, for at least 40 minutes to get to and from. As I think about the social hour that we did, by the way, that was a fun event. I know I've already done a video kind of talking about that a little bit, but I really do regret not getting more time at the social hour. There was a few folks I got to meet, which was awesome. Jason, he's not a YouTuber. I am encouraging Jason to get some YouTube content posted. This community is about sharing, and the easiest way to do that is just hit record on the phone or the camera and start posting some content. So, and Mike, I met you at the show as well. Hopefully you're watching this. I know that you're a loyal watcher, but I want to encourage some guys that are interested in making content. Get it posted, guys. We want to watch it. We want to see it. So, but there were some guys that I got to meet. Chris from Missouri was generous with his time. I got to chat with him. He was complimentary of the channel. He's been watching. I know I was complimentary of his channel, and what he's doing for the YouTube community that I like to participate in. And it was cool getting some time with him. I got a few minutes with Mike, Baseball Card Collector. But then there were guys that I just didn't get a chance to talk to. I know Mangini was there. I kind of seen him in various circles, and just didn't get an opportunity to talk with him or Orlando. I was hoping to kind of catch up with Orlando, and he's been posting a ton of really great content. So Orlando, if you're watching, your content's some of the best that we had seen, and I really appreciate the content that you're putting out there for the show. Or about the show. It's been fun to watch and kind of follow along with. But there was quite a few guys that I didn't get a chance to talk to. So the 4 or 5 or 6 YouTubers I did get to, the 4 or 5, 6 non-YouTubers that I really got to spend some good quality time with. It was absolutely a blast. Unfortunately, there was probably 200 people at that event, and just didn't have enough time to really spend with folks. And part of that reason is because I was staying downtown. I needed to leave earlier because I wanted to, get back to get back downtown, get back to my wife, and go have some cocktails and enjoy some time with her. Had I stayed a little bit closer or stayed adjacent to the actual convention center, that might have been, something that I'd have done differently, or certainly would do differently next time. So, if anybody has any questions, drop them below. Feel free to reach out. As always, email address is over at chasingmajors.com. Feel free to go ahead and hit me up, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I hope that you guys made it. If you did, be posting that content. We want to see it. It's always a pleasure to see what people are interested in and focused on. And then if you're going to next year's show, I'm hoping that I will be attending as well at this point. I'm already yearning to get back, so I probably will be going to Cleveland And so hopefully, if not sooner than that, whether I'm in Dallas or whether at Burbank, which I'm right now thinking Burbank might be a candidate for this year. So if you are headed to Burbank, there's a great chance I'll be hopefully there as well, and hopefully get an opportunity to chat with you guys at that specific show. With that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We're about 20 minutes in. Chat with you guys in the next one.